Hey everybody, it's me, Coach Rebecca. And in our Sport Confidence Accelerator Facebook group recently, it's our free Facebook group. If you're not in there, get in there. Lots of good tips and amazing community to join if you have a young athlete. But in that group recently, we asked, what is your biggest struggle? And one mom posted that her biggest struggle was watching her athlete struggle with a mental block for 4 years. And oh my gosh, what a struggle, right? She's not the only mom who I have met over the years whose daughter has been struggling for 4 years. And I talk on the phone doing free consultations all the time with parents and their athletes. And they'll go, well, she's had it since February. I'm like, oh, 6 months? This is easy. That's nothing. If your kid has been struggling for like a month, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the easiest thing we could possibly do, because the longer that you're in a pattern, the more it digs itself into your brain. So for those of you who are like, oh, we've, been struggling with going backwards for 2 weeks, I'm like, oh my gosh, child's play, because I've worked with kids who have been stuck for 4 years. And it is a lot more challenging to help somebody change a pattern that's been there for, I don't know, a third of their entire life for these 12-year-olds, right? Did I do the math there? So of course, watching your kid struggle for that long. And this mom, I'm pretty sure, has tried everything, right? She has read the books, probably gone to the hypnotist, probably has done something with the chiropractor or some vitamins or some oils, or I know she's tried mental training, maybe a couple different sports psychologists. They feel like they have tried everything. And this kid is still stuck. So there were always these tough cases that would come up in Perform Happy that's our online coaching program, where sometimes the kid just wouldn't break through. We're like, what is going on? We're doing the same thing, the same method that is working for 2,000 families so far. What is it about this one kid or these two kids that makes it so that they just cannot get their confidence back? And it lasts. And recently we have changed the way that we approach mental training in a very big way as a result of this big aha that I had while watching these kids who had been stuck for a really long time break through. And what I noticed is that oh gosh, there's so many things I want to say to you. The main thing is that what's keeping them stuck is what's called a fixed mindset. So Dr. Dweck has done research on these two types of mindsets, a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset basically means that you believe that you have been dealt a hand of cards, so to speak, that is you and your abilities. So your hand of cards will say that you are this intelligent, you are this talented, you are this funny, you are this creative, and that's what you've got. So make the best of it. And if you're not good enough, you're just not good enough at something, and you should find something else that you've been given the right talent card for. So a lot of anybody out there who identifies as a perfectionist, that's a fixed mindset trait. That is that idea that I must be perfect or else I'm just not good enough. That implies that card you got didn't allow you to be good enough. So I could talk for 5 hours on growth mindset and fixed mindset. But growth mindset means that there is no deck of cards. You just start where you are. You are a lump of clay that can be molded into anything with enough effort and enough practice. And you just focus on your progress and keep putting in effort, and you can build whatever talent you would like to build in this life. Okay, and so that's my camp. Now, as a recovering perfectionist, I also struggled with the never-ending mental blocks that didn't go away and ruined my gymnastics career because I thought I wasn't good enough. And I just thought that that's the way it is. I am just not good enough. Of course, this, came up right around the time my parents got a divorce, and I wasn't able to scream loud enough as a little 5-year-old girl to say, stay together, stay together. So I thought, okay, well, my daddy's gone now, so I have to be perfect and impressive for him to come and love me. It's all these little stories that we tell ourselves when we're so little, way too little to take care of, these big grown-up things that have nothing to do with us. And it doesn't even have to be like a big trauma like that, but there are these little things that happen in life, a bully, a problem that just feels too hard to solve, that we get these messages that we build into ourselves that like say, I'm just not good enough, period. So I'll get as far as I can, but I'm not talented enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not funny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. So I just gotta be mediocre and kind of like do my best to not let everybody realize how mediocre I am. So that's the way that I thought, and that's the way a lot of kids who I work with think. And it's not, it's not because their parents didn't love them and didn't do everything great. It's just because that's what happens. We build up these survival instincts because life is lifey, okay? So there's 3 phases to breaking through a mental block. This we have gotten down to a science in Perform Happy. First phase is awareness. So first, you have to understand, well, am I holding this imaginary deck of cards that's holding me back? Or am I this lump of clay that can turn into anything? So first you have to realize, okay, where am I? And then you also have to get aware of what your brain needs from you. A lot of the time, especially with gymnasts, we are taught to not listen to our brain. We're taught to go, shut up, brain, just go for the skill. Don't worry about the fear, just go for it. Chuck it and go. They say go, I say how high. So we've actually tuned out our awareness over, however many years we've been training, because sometimes you just got to throw the dang skill or you're going to get in trouble. Okay, so you have to figure out that part. So the awareness phase in overcoming a mental block is usually the longest and the hardest and the most uncomfortable. Woohoo, doesn't that sound fun? So I tell people that when we get started, you're going to have to get aware. There is no lasting solution for mental blocks that is like a 3-session solution or a quickly fill out this worksheet and you're going to be over it. That just doesn't exist, because you have to spend the time to examine your own mindset and start to realize, what are the clues I can find about what works and what doesn't work? And those come from setbacks. So if you're looking from your fixed mindset at the setback and going, not again, I am so flawed, I'm so hopeless because I had a setback, then you've completely lost your opportunity to build your awareness there. Those setbacks, when I'm in a one-on-one session with an athlete and they've had a bad week, I'm like, oh, good, let's learn. This is when you learn the good stuff. You have a great week. That's awesome. I'm always like, what did you do? How did you set yourself up for success? Let's learn from the success. But those setbacks are so juicy and so ripe with lessons to help you to be a better athlete. So once they have that setback, which is totally normal in the process of busting through fear in a lasting, like lifelong confidence type of way, they learn these crazy lessons. They're like, oh my gosh, they have these fireworks in their brain. That lump of clay turns a little bit closer to a gymnast, because now they know, oh, this doesn't work for me, or this does, or if I think about this, then it distracts me, or it doesn't work. So once they've hacked through that awareness phase, with loving support, because it's uncomfortable, then they get into the confidence phase. And that's the fun part. That's where you're really getting wins and you're starting to get better. But guess what, perfectionists? The confidence phase is not a black or white, win or lose, perfect or bad. It is gray in the confidence phase. It is stinking gray. And so for anybody who's like perfect or else, you will feel in the confidence phase the entire time like you are failing, because you are not perfect yet, because you are building confidence, because you're making little strides, because you're building progress toward working through that fear. But anybody who's like, I'm still not through my fear, I still have a mental block, I can't believe my friends are going so much faster than me, you are undermining your progress faster than you can build it. So you get stuck there. So confidence has to be from a place of a growth mindset, which is like, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Here's where I started today, and here's where I ended today. And for that, I am proud. Not where I should be or could be, or where they were, or where I was yesterday, or where I need to be tomorrow. Just, I started here and I got to here. Isn't that great? That is how you build confidence that lasts not just in your sport, but beyond. And then once you have really mastered the awareness and the confidence, you get into self-trust mode. So self-trust, that's the ability to not just say like, I have a worksheet and I have a visualization, I have a thing. I tighten my hair 5 times and I take 2 breaths and I spin around in a circle and then I can make myself go for the skill. That is not what I want. No, thank you. I want you to be able to get up there, stand on the beam, and go. period. That's it. You fully trust. You are aware, you are confident, and you go. And it's not that you're forcing yourself. It's not that you've learned how to outsmart the fear, which is what a lot of mental trainers actually try to teach. But you have become one with the experience of being human and being imperfect and making progress and moving forward. So that is what's required. We know this. We take kids through this all the time. But your kid's stuck. And they're trying and they're stuck still. And it feels like they just randomly can go for skills or they randomly can't. That means they're in the awareness phase still. They're having good days, they're having bad days, and they don't know why. Awareness phase. Or they're pushing too hard, or they're giving up entirely. That's awareness and confidence. They're not allowing themselves to hang out in the gray area of just getting a little better. So when you're paying attention, and when you're allowing yourself to be a lump of clay that could be anything that you form it into, then you're just on your journey. Okay, so if your athlete is staying stuck longer than you would like, which is like any amount of stuck as a parent, I get it, but 100% of the time, and that's a bold statement, 100% of the time, when somebody stays stuck in their mental block for an extended period of time, it's got something to do with their fixed mindset. Or here was the breakthrough that we had with our clients recently. It's either the kid's fixed mindset and or the parent's fixed mindset and or the coach's fixed mindset. So if any of those three are in a place where they feel like you just need to get it or get off the pot, or I'm sick of watching you struggle, or I don't know why you can't just go for it and move on, or maybe this isn't the right sport for you. If any of that is happening, if the coaches are demanding perfection, or they're not praising little wins, or they're ignoring or criticizing when she's struggling, they're comparing her to other athletes or to herself or to inflexible deadlines, then they're perpetuating that fixed mindset that is keeping her stuck. The coach and the parent set the context. It's like if your athlete is a jelly bean, the whole team is jelly beans. The coach creates the bowl. They create the context that holds those jelly beans in place. So that coach is installing that fixed mindset every single time. They go, nope, not good enough. Nope, not good enough. Instead of, hey, that's looking better. Let's focus on this. Okay, parents, when you keep getting in the car and saying, oh my gosh, did you go for it yet? I'm so sick of dealing with this. Like, should we just quit? Every time that you get in that, like, it's got to be now or else I just can't handle this. Then you are the bowl with your little jelly bean in it, and you are keeping her in that fixed mindset. Okay, so here's what to do, parents. If your kid is one of those unlucky few, but I'm going to say, I think luck has nothing to do with it. So I needed to conquer my fixed mindset in order to have any semblance of happiness in this life, because I lived 23 years feeling not good enough. And then I started to dig in and make the changes within myself that allowed me to go, I am exactly who I'm supposed to be in this moment with all my flaws and all my struggles. This is exactly who I'm supposed to be. You don't have to believe this, but it works for me. And from here, what's next? What's possible? What can I become? What do I want? So I had to get dragged through the mud and keep quitting everything I loved. I quit my sport, I quit a career, I quit a marriage, all of this by age 23. And I finally was like, okay, I can't just keep demanding these things of life. Like, I have to give myself some grace and the ability to have my journey. So that's what's happening. Your athlete is battling against their own fixed mindset, which is something that they'll learn to overcome through the struggle if they're given the right guidance to help them learn, okay? So here's what you do as a parent. Always, the same thing as I tell the kids, you control the controllables. If it's something that's outside of your control, your job is to let it go. I like to write 2 columns, things I can control, things I can't control. And I would challenge you out there to actually write these 2 lists. And I'm talking to you parents, not just the athletes. What can you control? What can you not control? Then take that list of things you can't control, tear it up, and toss it, because there's nothing you can do, and it is all wasted sleep that you're spending focusing on that column, okay? So what you can control is your own mindset. So that's why I created the mental block breakthrough method for parents, which is this like initial thing that if the parents start doing their mindset work first, then when the kids, well, actually, then the kids actually become open to taking advice from their parent because they're just like so darn sick of talking about this after 4 years. But if the parents do their work first, they get their awareness around what they're doing and whether or not it's making things worse. Then you, the parent, can model what you want to see in her. You can focus on the relationship, not the skill. And, oh, of course, my dog needs to chime in now. And that will allow you to build the trust that allows her to trust herself and allows her to feel like she's already good enough with or without that skill, which actually allows her mindset to go into the growth mode, which allows her to like get to where her potential can allow her to go. Okay, another thing you can control is you can hold coaches accountable for the mindset that they're transmitting to those kids. If you see a coach out there ignoring the struggling kid, if you see a coach out there not ever giving compliments, those are the types of things that you might want to have like a curious conversation about. And I have a whole module in the Parenting the Fearful Athlete course within Perform Happy that's all about how to talk to coaches in a way that can allow you to collaborate. And we're not pointing fingers and we're not telling them they're doing anything wrong. We're just inviting them to explain, like, where are you coming from? And here's what I'm noticing. And, my kid needs a growth mindset. So what can we do to make sure that she's getting, the type of feedback that's really going to be empowering? I know you're like, what? Not with my coach. Well, then consider maybe that's part of the problem. Okay, another thing you can do as a parent is you can work on your own self-care. If you are super stressed about money, then you're going to not want to pay those meet entry fees if she's not doing her skills. So like work on letting go of the fear and coming up with other ways to feel more secure. If you're stressed about your relationship, you're going to want to like control things elsewhere. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself so that your stuff isn't being projected on your daughter who's already struggling. And also your coping skills. If you're nervous or if you're stressed or you're frustrated or you're angry, that's not going to be helping her to have her best chance at confidence. So make sure that you're doing your work, like get your own therapist. I love having a therapist so that it makes me a better mom. I can vent about my kids to her and then go and be loving to my kids. Okay. And then finally, you can check out our new free training. So if you haven't already, it says gymnastics parents, but really if you have an individual sport athlete, like a cheerleader, figure skater, diver, swimmer, it all applies. So check out the free training for sport parents. It's all about how to help your athlete break through mental blocks without being too controlling or too involved, because that is not the solution either. Okay. The link for that is completeperformancecoaching.com/free. Check it out. We're going to be hosting that for a little while, and just know like it's okay, right? We're going to be in a growth mindset, and all you need to do as a parent, well, you can do whatever you want. What I suggest is start where you are and try to get a little better. Like, what can you do that's going to be a little bit better at helping support your athlete in, becoming the type of kid who can believe in herself no matter how she's performing. All right, everybody. And if you have questions, if you are one of those unlucky parents with a kid who's had a mental block for more than a few months, reach out. We do free consultation calls. I would be happy to jump on the phone with you and your athlete and just brainstorm some ideas, because I promise you, they're not unique. There are a lot of kids struggling, and there are some really effective solutions. So I'd love to share them with you. All right, bye for now.